Alex, people think stained glass is this delicate, ethereal art form. They think of cathedrals and hushed whispers, but in reality, it's basically controlled destruction.
Based on the band-aid on your thumb, controlled might be a strong word today.
this this is just a souvenir from a piece of textured cathedral glass that didn't want to go quietly. But that's the thing. Today we're diving into the basics of glass cutting and stained glass. It is one of those crafts where the barrier to entry feels like a mountain. But once you make that first clean snap, you're hooked.
I'll admit, the idea of snapping glass on purpose terrifies me. My brain is programmed to think broken glass equals a bad day.
Ask me how I know that feeling. My first project, I was so tense, I was holding the cutter like a jackhammer. I probably wasted 20 square feet of perfectly good cobalt blue glass because I wouldn't trust the score line. Here's the thing nobody tells you. You're not actually cutting the glass, you're sabotaging it. You're creating a fault line and then convincing it to fail exactly where you want it to.
Okay, let's start with the sabotage tools. I see a few different looking gadgets on your bench. One looks like a giant pen, and the other looks like a tiny power drill handle.
Exactly. It's a pick your poison situation. The one that looks like a pen is a pencil grip cutter. Traditionalists love them, but for beginners, or people like me who have the occasional bout of shop hands, the pistol grip is the way to go.
Wait, hold on. Why the pistol grip? Just because it looks cooler?
It's the ergonomics, Alex. You use the web of your hand between your thumb and forefinger to apply downward pressure. It's much easier on the wrist. Most of these have a tungsten carbide wheel and a little reservoir in the handle for cutting oil.
Cutting oil. Is that like WD-40?
Please don't put WD-40 on my glass. Cutting oil keeps the wheels spinning freely, and more importantly, it seeps into that score line to keep the break fresh. If you score glass and wait 10 minutes to break it, the fissure essentially starts to heal.
Glass heals? Now, you're just getting mystical on me.
It's physics. The molecular bonds start to settle. If you want a clean snap, you score it and you pop it. Pronto. Before you ever touch the cutter, you need a pattern. You can either glue paper patterns directly to the glass or trace your lines with a Sharpie. Those lines are your roadmap.
Okay, but what about when the Sharpie line is 1/8 of an inch thick? Do you cut on the inside, the outside, or the middle? Because in woodworking, that's the difference between a snug joint and a gap you can see from space.
Spoken like a true woodworker. In glass, you generally want to cut just to the inside of your line. You have to account for the thickness of the copper foil that's going to wrap around each piece later. If you cut exactly on the line, by the time you foil everything, your sun catcher will have grown by 1 inch and won't fit the frame. Ask me how I know. I once made a window for a shed that ended up being a very beautiful, very expensive glass wall because it wouldn't fit the rough opening.
Let's talk about the glass itself. It's not all just window panes. I'm looking at this piece here. It looks like a frozen sunset.
That's streaky glass. Then you have opalescent, which you can't see through, and cathedral, which is transparent. Beginners should start with cathedral glass. It's usually smoother and flatter, which makes the scoring process way more predictable.
And the textured stuff? The stuff that looks like it has ripples or bubbles.
That's the boss level for beginners. You always score on the smooth side of textured glass. If you try to run a cutting wheel over ripples, it'll bounce like a Jeep on a pothole road, and your glass will shatter into 1,000 pieces of frustration.
So, walk me through the snap. You've scored it, you've used your cutting oil, you've followed your pattern. Now what? You just hit it?
Never hit it. We use 2 specific types of pliers. And this is important. Do not use the rusty pliers from your car's trunk. You have running pliers, which have a curved jaw. You put them on the end of your score line, give a gentle squeeze, and the curve of the pliers coaxes the crack to run all the way down the line. It's the most satisfying sound in the world, like a crisp autumn leaf stepping.
And the other ones? The ones that look like they have teeth?
Those are grozing pliers. They're for chewing away the bits of glass that didn't break perfectly. If you have a little nubbin of glass sticking out past your line, you use the grozers to nibble it back. It sounds like you're eating grape nuts, honestly.
Nibbling glass. Sounds safe.
It's actually where a lot of the dust comes from, which is why you always wear eye protection. Glass shards don't care about your "I've been doing this for years" ego. They are heat-seeking missiles for corneas.
Okay, what is this little fountain?
This is the great equalizer, the grinder. After you cut your pieces, they're going to be a bit, let's say, approximate. The grinder has a diamond-encrusted bit that spins in a water bath. It lets you smooth down the edges and fine-tune the shape so everything fits together like a perfect puzzle.
It looks like it's doing the work for you. Why not just cut close enough and grind the rest?
Because diamond bits are expensive and my time is valuable. Ha ha ha. If you rely too much on the grinder, you'll spend 4 hours doing a 1-hour project. Plus, the grinder creates glass sludge. It's exactly as gross as it sounds. Here's the thing. Nobody tells you. Keep that sponge in the grinder wet. If the bit runs dry, you'll ruin the diamond coating in about 30 seconds.
Okay, so we've cut, we've nibbled, we've ground the edges smooth. Now we're looking at a bunch of glass shapes. They aren't a window yet.
Now comes the foiling. This is the Tiffany method, named after the Louis Comfort Tiffany. You take a roll of adhesive-backed copper foil and wrap it around the edge of every single piece of glass.
That looks tedious.
It's incredibly zen if you're in the right headspace. It's incredibly maddening if you've had too much caffeine. The key is centering. If the foil is lopsided, your solder lines will look wonky. You have to burnish it down, rubbing it flat against the glass so no chemicals can seep under the tape later.
Wait, hold on. Why copper? Can't we just glue the glass together?
Solder doesn't stick to glass, Alex. It sticks to metal. The copper foil is the bridge. You're essentially building a metal skeleton around your glass pieces so the solder has something to grab onto.
And then you go to town with the soldering iron. I've seen you do this with electronics, but this iron looks beefy.
It's a 100-watt beast. For stained glass, we usually use 60-40 lead tin solder. You apply a flux, which is a liquid cleaner that helps the solder flow, and you run a bead along those copper seams.
Is that where the skill really shows?
Absolutely. A beginner's solder line looks like a mountain range, all lumpy and jagged. A pro's line is a bead, smooth, rounded, and shiny. It takes practice. You want to move at a slow, steady pace. Too fast, and the solder doesn't melt fully. Too slow, and you risk heat fracture, where the glass gets so hot it cracks right under your iron.
Imagine finishing a 50-piece project and cracking the very last piece during soldering.
I don't have to imagine it. I did it 3 weeks ago. It's a rite of passage. You just sit there, listen to that tink sound, and then you go get a beer and try again tomorrow.
It is pretty incredible, though, going from a literal sheet of sharp material to that.
That's the magic. And for anyone listening who wants to start, don't start with a 12th century cathedral replica. Start with a heart. Start with a star. Learn how the glass feels when it breaks.
What's the number one mistake you see beginners make, besides the whole not wearing safety glasses thing?
Not pressing hard enough on the score. They're afraid of the glass. You need to hear that zip sound. If it sounds like you're scratching a chalkboard, you're pressing too hard. If it's silent, you're not pressing enough. It should sound like, well, like sizzling bacon.
Sizzling bacon. Got it. Sabotage the glass, listen for the bacon, don't use the car pliers.
Exactly. And honestly, the best advice I can give is to join a community. Go to a local shop. The people who do stained glass are usually obsessed with it and will talk your ear off about which flux they prefer.
So, what's the takeaway for the Tiger Den today?
The takeaway is that precision is a practice, not a talent. Your first cuts will be ugly. Your first solder lines will be lumpy. But there's a very deep primal satisfaction in taking something as rigid and fragile as glass and making it follow your rules.
Even if it takes a few band-aids to get there.
Especially if it takes a few band-aids. It builds character. Or at least, that's what I tell myself every time I find a piece of glass in my shoe.
Haha. On that note, let's go clean up your bench. I think I see a shard of sunset heading for your coffee.
Adds flavor. Thanks for hanging out in the den today, folks. Go break something. On purpose.